Now in this particular session, we are going to focus on what is a theory and how to use a particular theory to develop linkage between variables. So what is a theory? Now theories have the potential to explain a phenomena. Now this puts the theoretical framework squarely ahead of mere descriptive or survey work. Now we all have heard, or we might have heard, these terms: theoretical framework, and then we have heard about conceptual framework. Now what is the difference between the two? Are they both the same? Are they totally different from each other? Or there are some common grounds, something common between the two? Now there is a detailed video on these two concepts. Are they same? Are they different? Are all? Or there is something common in between the two? The link will be shared in the description. Now what this theory or theories do is that they put your theoretical work squarely ahead of mere descriptive or survey work. How? You are not just describing X said this, Y said this, or these are the results of the relationship between the two variables. Or the theories will help you explain why is this relationship this way, why is it positive, why it is negative, or why there is a relationship between the concepts. It will help you explain the relationship. It will help you explain the mechanism of relationship as well, as to what are the possible reasons that a particular relationship may exist. Now, if there is no research whatsoever on the impact of X on Y, the theory will help you build your argument. Moving on. Theory is necessary and useful in most business and management research. Now, majority of your papers may be rejected because you do not have adequate theory, or you have not used a particular theory adequately, or in other case, you are not making a significant contribution to the theory. Now, examiners expect to see propositions and hypotheses supported by theory or theoretical concepts, perspectives, and for empirical findings to be explained by the theory. This is part of the discussion. Now you've got your results, X influences Y. So let's say it's a positive impact. Now this particular relationship or positive relationship, is it supported by any particular theory? And if it is, why is it supported? So theory is not just about proposing hypothesis, it's about supporting your empirical findings as well, explaining your empirical findings with the theory as to why there is a relationship, why this particular relationship was supported. Now most business and management research aims to explain a particular behavior, such as choice or an outcome that is associated with individuals, that is leaders, employees, and consumers. Or it may be explaining the relationship between individuals and groups, work teams, companies, and countries, or systems. And theories can help you explain such behavior. Theories can help you explain how leaders influence groups, or how organizational practices such as CSR influences team outcomes. Now I did a paper on this here. There was very little research on how CSR influences team outcomes, and I guess there is very little research still. So you can work on CSR and team outcomes. So I used social identity theory to explain the relationship between CSR and team outcomes, because there was no research or very little research as to how CSR can influence the different team outcomes. So I used a theory to explain the proposed behaviors. For example, theories may be used to explain why some companies are successful while others are not, or why individual A decides to buy a product X while individual B decides to buy product Y. Now, theories can be used to provide both predictions and explanations. Theories do this by specifying how different concepts or phenomena relate to one another and why these concepts or phenomena relate to each other. So it will help you explain both how and it will help you explain why as well. So both these things are possible with a theory. Moving on. So what are the key elements of a theory? Now, Witten 1989 argues that the theory contains 4 essential elements. What? The factors in the theory. This includes the construct in the theory. Now you might have heard about job resources and demand model. Now, what would mean the factors that are there in this particular model or theory? Now, if we have a look here, let me quickly go through it. So job demand and resources theory, if you go to the images, now look at this. These are the factors that are there in the theory. Or, for example, you can have another theory as well. Let's say UTAUT2. So these are the factors that are there in the theory. What factors? So this is your what. Now moving on, how are these factors related? The arrows that connect the boxes as we've seen here. Look at this. How performance expectancy influences behavioral intention. How effort expectancy influences behavioral intention. How behavioral intention influences use behavior, and so on and so forth for all the variables. So the second element is how these factors are interrelated. Why? Now this is very important. Why the factors are related. And this is the key and particularly important in theoretical contribution. Now if there is no why, there is no contribution. You have to explain why these factors are contributing to the relationships, or you have to explain why studying these concepts is important. What is the contribution of this particular relationship to the literature? Why is it important to explain, understand, and empirically study these relationships? If there is no why in research, there is no contribution. Who, where, and when. Now this represents the boundary conditions, that is, moderators. And it helps explain what could possibly change the existing prescribed relationship in the model. Who here refers to the level of analysis. You can have individual, departmental, or organizational. Where refers to the context or setting, and when refers to the timing. Now finally, a model is the representation of a theory. Now once you have identified the theories that can help you explain the relationships, based on those theories or a particular theory, you present your model. And it is shown in the graphical or mathematical form. So how do we search for a particular theory? Let's say, now the model that we've been studying for the past few sessions, well, this is the model. And we looked into the structure for this model as well. Now let's say I'm searching for theory. What is the theory that I can use to explain the relationship? So let's say I'm interested in explaining the relationship between servant leadership and environmental behavior. So I'm going to use this particular theory. And how does this work? For example, have a look here. You'll have in title, servant leadership, which is your IV, environmental behavior, which is your DV. Obviously, it could be UR or OR, depending on British and American English. And then I'm interested in finding out the theory. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to find out papers that have linked servant leadership with environmental behavior, and if they have used a particular theory to explain the relationship. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to copy this particular text here and let's put it in Google Scholar, and to find out what particular theory we can use here, enter. So servant leadership and employees' pro-environmental behavior has been explained in light of social learning theory. So you can use this particular theory, or there could be other theories as well that can be utilized. So what you need to do is open these papers up. Let's open one of them. So this is how you can obviously use or search for theories based on these strings. So this is the paper, and let's Control F and let's just directly go into the theory. So the theory of self-determination, a widely recognized theory of human motivation, posits that motivation is essential. So whatever the theory they have used, you can just go through the literature and see which one fits your model. Look at this. So they have used social learning theory to explain the relationship between servant leadership and EPB, pro-environmental behavior. So you can use the same theory as well, but before going on and using the same argument, try to learn about what social learning theory is, so that you have an idea as to what it means and how you can fit it in your model. The more you read, the more you understand how it can help you explain the relationship. And furthermore, then you are able to contribute to the theory. How do we contribute to the theory? This will be discussed later as well. Now you can similarly search for other theories as well. For example, I've got other relationships here. Let's say green identity. So servant leadership and green identity. So you can just go on here and just change the text here. Use green identity. And if you can't find anything on servant leadership and green identity, then obviously you can search something on leadership. And let's do identity. Let's remove this bit as well. The social identity theory of leadership. So they have used social identity theory. Identity construction. Now green identity is about identity. So what theory have they used? Identity theory. So just open these papers and look into, read about it, so you better understand how to write about it as well. Furthermore, for example, I'm also interested in finding out if a particular theory has been used with a particular concept. So what the concept is, it should appear in the title of the paper and in the text, that particular theory. So I'm interested in finding out if path goal theory has been used with servant leadership. So copy. Let's say you read somewhere a particular theory and you think that it could fit your model, and you are trying to find out if somebody has done it or not. So I'm trying to find out whether path goal theory has been used with servant leadership. And let's see. Yes, it has been used with servant leadership. Look at this, path goal theory. Path goal theory. And there are other arguments as well. So this is how you can also find out if a particular theory has been used with a particular concept or not. How to search a particular theory if you've got so many papers downloaded and you've just put it in Mendeley. Let's look at the theory. For example, these are the papers that I've downloaded on a particular topic, and I want to find out the theories that have been used. So what I'll do is I simply come here and write in theory. So complexity theory has been used, social exchange theory has been used, complexity theory, whatever the theories are, they have been used. For example, let's say I'm interested in leadership and behavior. So let's say what theory has been used. So social exchange theory has been used with servant leadership, or conservation of resources theory has been used. So you can search through Mendeley, click next and find out the theory that have been, or the theories that have been used with a particular concept. So once you have got the papers in Mendeley, you can simply search the word theory, or let's say you can have the word theories as well. Let's enter. Let's see if it works with capital or small letters. So it gives both the same result. So you can use both capital or small letters. Let's say, for example, I click on here, but look at this, no matches for the phrase, because now it is taking this whole as a phrase for this document. So you can obviously just look into one. So it was theory that was mentioned with this paper or for this paper. So you can use the word theory to search within the paper. Now, the next thing that is important, where do you write about the theory? So you introduce the theory that you are using for your paper in the introduction of the paper. So once you have explained the gaps of your study, what is it that you are doing that hasn't been done before, then you explain the theoretical lens for your study. Now here is a paper. I remember using the word theoretical lens for one of my studies. So here it is. Now what happens is, after I've described in the gaps in my study and everything in the introduction here, the gaps in the research and all. So the next thing that I've done here is that I've explained the theoretical lens for this study. Let's just quickly go through it. The theoretical lens for this study is knowledge-based view. Now this is not enough. You just don't just write it, okay, this is the theory that I'm going to use. Now what you have to do is very briefly describe what it means here. That's it. Now once that is done, the next step is that you describe the contribution that your research makes towards the theory. And look at this. The research makes several significant contributions through the integration of KBV. Now what you are doing is you are integrating a theory with particular concepts. So this is your contribution. We identify how KM enablers and different KM processes are associated with PS, extending limited research on the linkage between EO, KOL and PS. So what I've done through this particular sentence is that I've integrated the theory that I'm going to use with the concepts that I'm going to study. That is the interrelationship between these concepts. Now there are other examples as well. Let's go to one of the other examples. Now look at this. Again, through the integration of KBV, we identify KM processes as a distinct pathway through which EL is associated with project success. So knowledge-based view will help us explain how entrepreneurial leadership influences KM processes, and that ultimately leads to improvement in project success. Now again, let's move on. I've got another topic as well. Just quickly go through that one as well. Here is the paper, and let's remove this and let's go to the introduction of the paper. Move down. Let's search theory. The present study utilizes social identity theory and the resource-based view. Now, two theories have been utilized. So what is social identity theory? What is RBV? Now, CSR efforts are rare, valuable, non-imitable, just like any other scarce resource under RBV. The research contribution or the research contributes to the literature on SIT and RBV by demonstrating the relationship. Now, this research is contributing by demonstrating the relationship between CSR, team outcomes and OP. Now this is what you do in your introduction. In a separate paragraph, you describe or you write about the theories that you are using. A sentence or two as to what these theories mean. Now once you describe as to what these theories mean, you explain how are you going to contribute towards them. And then the detail is followed in the literature review. How? Have a look. Now to explain the relationship between CSR and OP, we used the resource-based view in this research. The relationship between CSR and OP can be further elucidated or explained through RBV. Now the central idea of resource-based view is that the organizations compete against others based on their resources. So is CSR a resource? Yes, CSR is a resource. Firm resource according to Sun and Price in 2016. And then it is explained that CSR efforts can help provide a distinct point of differentiation for businesses. Hence, it is a resource. And that differentiation can help you improve your performance. So what happens is we use RBV. So we have to prove if CSR is a resource, and yes, we have done it here through reference. And if it is a resource, it helps explain or improve organizational performance. Well, it does. So based on these arguments, we say that CSR has a significant positive impact on OP. This is how you use a theory to explain the relationship between two different concepts. I hope this session would have helped you understand where to present a theory initially in your literature, or rather in the introduction, and finally, how to write about the theory in your literature review. We are going to further focus on this in coming sessions as well.